Retired Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force, Dr. Gary Best, has expressed his sympathy to those soldiers wounded recently in the defense of Guyana. He said that these soldiers were attacked by armed Venezuelans.
But they were defending Guyana, notwithstanding the resources that they have available to them. It is important to set the context, as you mentioned, that Guyana has been occupied by Venezuela, part of Guyana, since 1966. Venezuela has continuously been in violation of international law, has continued violated Guyana's territorial integrity, attacked Guyana's sovereignty since 1966.
He said that the question of whether diplomacy is enough is tricky.
We recognize that diplomacy has taken on a different form and a different shape. And it has to be linked back to the person, not to the country that you're dealing with. For example, if you take the Ukrainian situation, that's Russia, United States, Europe, and Ukraine. That's a proxy war that's being fought between the Russians and the United States in Ukraine. If you look at apply the same calculus to Guyana, you see some similarities.
He said that given the resources of the Guyana Defense Force, one must wonder how long can diplomacy hold.
I believe it's important for us to recognize that it is incumbent that the Defense Force at this point in time is re-equipped and better equipped to hold Venezuela for a determined piece of time, maybe 72 hours, until international pressure comes in. So diplomacy, yes, will still be an active weapon by Guyana, but we cannot forget the importance of building up those resources of the Guyana Defense Force.
The Constitution imposes on each Guyanese the duty to defend Guyana.
I am not sure where the Guyanese are at the moment, but I tend to believe that they're thinking that there are allies or friendly nations that will come to Guyana's aid, and they will solve our problem. They will solve this Venezuela issue. I have my doubts with that, and I say why. The extent to which they will come. In international politics, there are no permanent enemies, no permanent friends, only permanent interests.
Guyana will therefore be expected to pay a price for the peace in the conflict with Venezuela, according to Dr. Best. He said that at one time, there were Guyanese who felt that the Argyle Declaration was the price.
Which country will send troops to Guyana? For example, I'm answering the question of diplomacy. Which country will send troops to Guyana if Guyana is not committed and committing its own resources to this effort?
He said that in the 1980s and 1990s, Guyana spent a considerable amount of its budget on defense. He said that this helped keep Venezuela at bay.
We have a large budget, much more resources, much more income, and we have less spending percentage-wise on the defense of Guyana. If we were to cut infrastructure budget by 60% or 40%, it would not affect the other sectors. You have more money available to put towards defense.
Dr. Best said that diplomacy needs to be buttressed by defense spending. This must include living frontiers and living borders. Guyana also needs to ensure that some of the Venezuelans living in Guyana are not forward elements.
We have a country that is actively engaging to take 2/3 of Guyana. And for us to believe that the Venezuelans in Guyana are all refugees, I think that's foolhardy. No doubt, in my mind, they are forward elements from Venezuela in Guyana, actively working to destabilize the Guyanese economy, the Guyanese society, for the benefit of President Maduro.